Welcome to All Things Greater Burlington, where you will hear from the movers, shakers, and changemakers that are moving Greater Burlington forward. Here is your host, Stephen Brody.
Welcome to All Things Greater Burlington, and it's a pleasure to have with us today Tyler and Melinda Bickel, co-owners of Bickel Cycling and Fitness in West Burlington. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning, Steve.
Morning, Steve. Glad to be here.
Well, I thought it would be wonderful to have a family success business on to share your story and just everything involved with Bickels and cycling and fitness. So I guess just to get started, why don't you tell us a little about the history and the origin of the business? How long have you been around?
Well, the business started with my father around 1965, and it was not a bike shop. It was actually George's across the street. That is now located across the street from us. But he had bought over on South 12th Street a house, a garage, and a business all at the same time.
It was lawnmowers. He was doing
lawnmowers.
Okay.
Then he got into a service station because he was a diesel mechanic in the Army. And so he was running both for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then in the 70s, gas was kind of a big thing. And he went through this, was it Edison or was it somebody had it?
Benjamin Franklin,
yeah. And he would write down 100 ideas over one moon phase, and then he would just go through and cross them off. And he came down to, on a short list of things, bicycles. And so my brother Eric was born in the hospital. He shows up to my mom, oh, by the way, I'm selling the business, and we just bought a building, and we're going to sell bicycles now.
Oh, wow.
Had nothing to do with it, just completely blindsided.
Perfect time to spring that on, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Sandy is very tolerant. I don't know if I could have quite shouldered that.
So anyway, they went into that, and they had scraped up everything they had. They bought 30 bicycles, and were running. And it just didn't stop.
We've been rolling ever since.
Yeah, I guess rolling would be better.
Yeah,
that would be better.
So at the time, were there bike shops in town?
There was another Schwinn store downtown, and I don't know what it was called or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Dad was selling General and Vista was the two brands he had, and they were outselling the Schwinn store. Well, that guy was ready to retire, and one of the Schwinn rep came in and pretended he was going to buy, and was very impressed by my parents, and so then he opened us up.
Okay.
So, and then the bike shop got big enough he couldn't do lawnmowers and chainsaws and bikes, so we sold the lawnmower side off, and that's when George's kind of exited the picture.
So they were doing everything at the same time, maintaining the lawnmower and expanding and doing bikes.
Yes.
And then the bikes started overwhelming the...
Yes, and so he kept chainsaws, so forever we were Bickel Cycling and Chainsaw.
We still have some of the old chainsaws in the warehouse. It's crazy. And we weren't the only bike shop that did that. There are other models like that throughout the country.
There's a model for cycling and chainsaws.
Yeah, there's a store up in Muscatine, and the owner of that store has since passed away, but him and my dad were like best friends.
Yeah.
Charlie Harper.
Harper's,
and they would always joke that they were the two biggest Schwinn dealers in Iowa, and then there'd be a pause. They'd look at each other, and they go, wow, but Red and Tom was bigger than us. He's about 300 pounds.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
It's that misnomer that, you own a bike shop, and so you're probably always riding, but any, small business owner knows that you're living and breathing and doing the work, and so you might not always have the extra spare time to actually enjoy, the benefits.
He worked way more than he did anything else.
Right. So... Was it just him? How big was the store to begin with?
So all that kind of predates me, but
it was
of course all of my siblings, we've all worked at the store.
Yeah,
and there was a pretty diverse a group of people that worked, and it was a pretty interesting time from some of the stories I've heard.
So originally it was on Kirkwood, which street, which was just kind of a neighborhood bike shop. It's now the Tannery, that building.
Okay. Yeah.
And then was it and that was 72, and then in 85 or 86?
86.
Yeah.
December 31st of 86, he moved into that building.
Over on agency.
Yep, He had to get the tax credit. So I was 4 years old.
Was that a growing area at the time?
I think
there wasn't much out there.
There wasn't anything. There was still the drive-in movie theater, and was it not like a dirt road or a gravel road? There wasn't
the
really
road
anything.
that would West Burlington Avenue to the south was dirt.
Okay.
And where Lowe's was all woods.
You probably have pictures of that somewhere, I would
I'm
imagine.
sure
Yeah.
there are. I used to go play over there all the time as a kid because I lived at that bike shop. I
Yeah,
was
you
hardly
would just
ever
run
home.
out into the fields and you
Yeah,
know, yeah.
yeah. I could go all the way back to where PPG was and not touch or pavement.
Yeah.
Was this something that was expected if you were a Bickel, that you were going to work at the business?
Oh yes, yeah. You were going to work. My siblings at some point realized that if they did sports, they didn't have to work, so they all went in. They did about every sport they could. I honestly really liked working at the store the whole time, so I did football, and that was kind of because my mom made me, but I enjoyed it. So, but yeah, it was. It was good.
I think your passion too was that your dad, you did a lot of RAGBRAI. I mean, he kind of got to the point where the business was established. Maybe your siblings, Tyler's oldest sister is 20-year difference, you know, so in that period of time, you know, the business was established and worked up to where that maybe you got the benefits of a little bit more free time to ride bikes with dad. And yeah.
So talk about the connection with a bike shop and RAGBRAI, because RAGBRAI obviously is huge in the state of Iowa.
RAGBRAI, yeah, it's referred to some as a bicycle holiday or whatever. It's
A rolling party.
yeah, rolling party, Mardi Gras on wheels. It's what you make of it.
Sure.
It stands for the Register's annual Great Bicycle Ride across Iowa.
Right.
And it is just a ride, is not a race. So there is one rule of RAGBRAI is there is no first and there is no last.
Right.
So there's always somebody ahead of you and there's always somebody behind you.
Right.
And
The joy is you start by dipping the wheel in the Missouri River. Is that right?
rear
Yeah,
wheel?
rear wheel on the west side and front wheel on the east side.
In the Mississippi River.
Yes.
Yep.
Right.
I haven't done that for a long time. This will be my 23rd year.
Okay.
So I've
And
done it
Edward's
quite a
going
few.
this year.
Yep,
Our
and-
son Edward.
So you're going to go.
Yeah, I'm
it's,
going.
And it's a northern route this year.
Very northern.
That's the rotation.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yep. Well, and it's typically it goes middle, south, north, and then it'll bump around middle, north, middle, south. But there's you
No
can't count on
Burlington.
it to be there. But yeah, it's way up north. It's a long drive.
Yeah.
So you and Edward are practicing just yesterday.
Yeah.
You went on a 60-mile ride
Oh, wow.
together.
Yep,
So.
and he did real strong. I was really happy for him. So
Good.
I mean, he's 13 years old, and I got him riding 60 miles. We're going to try and do 70 next weekend.
Wow.
He'll be ready
So-
for cross country this fall.
And how long is RAGBRAI? How many days typically
It's a
is
7-day ride.
it? Okay.
So
Starts on a Sunday and ends on a Saturday.
Yep. Yeah, you get up there the Saturday night before, and you're riding Sunday through Saturday.
And I've heard a lot of wonderful stories about little towns and riding through small towns and how those towns are very welcoming and accommodating for the cyclists. You have experiences like that?
They all kind of blur together. So it's hard for me to separate one RAGBRAI from another, but
Yeah.
I can
Depends
think
how
of,
hot and how much drinking's going on,
Yeah.
right? You know.
Well, even when I was younger, it all blurs together. But
Yeah.
there's towns that I've rolled through, and imagine them having a city festival like Mediapolis just did one last weekend,
Yes.
and you got all the vendors set up in the main street, but then throw 50,000 people in it. It's pretty incredible. There's times I've rolled through, and there was a police station. It said, "Thank you, RAGBRAI of 1996." The other one said, and then next was like an ambulance service center, and it was, "Thank you, RAGBRAI of 2000." And the next one was a fire station. "Thank you, RAGBRAI of," and so it'd gone through enough. They'd raised enough money to build
Yeah, the
these
economic
buildings.
benefits,
Oh,
especially those
I got
overnight
it.
towns where you're spending the night.
Yeah.
Actually, pass-through towns, I think,
Pass-through,
have it better.
That's true. But it is the largest touring event worldwide, so the number of countries and people coming to it. Just that nice Iowa hospitality, and
Yeah.
churches, having they're selling their pies. And when Tyler and I took the kids, and they were 7 and 9 at the time, we went in 2018. We did 35 miles on that, and we had a blast. And like Tyler said, it's not a rush, and you just go through each little pass-through town. We asked the kids, "Hey, how you feeling?" My mother drove her vehicle that helped. We thought maybe we'll just do 8 miles, and
Yeah.
next thing you know, we made it 35 miles. It was great. The weather was perfect, pretty flat terrain. The last 2 miles coming into, I think it was Baxter, Iowa, got a little hilly and a little hot. That sun was definitely out blazing. And Kimberly, she's on a 24-inch bike, so a little smaller bike and heavier than most people riding. And she's like, "I hate like crying. And I said, kid, there is nothing I can do. You're going to have to power through this. I can't pluck you from the middle of these cornfields. And
Imagine the most dramatic little girl yelling in your life. Everybody around her was snickering.
Just laughing. Yeah. They were really kind of cheering her on. You can do it, kid. You can do it. And then you got into town, and they had the big combines, and they were shooting out all this cold water, and they just stood there just basking in the, being cooled off, and it was a great experience. I loved it.
Does someone in the family have like a chase vehicle that's following
that
you?
That particular day, we had
my mom.
Yeah, because I would imagine. And where do you sleep typically?
We like to tent it.
Okay.
So, and I organize the charter service for Bike Burlington. So that's one of my jobs, is to secure campsites and hire the staff.
Yeah.
So is there a certain time of year that's busier than others for you two?
The fitness and the bike really kind of balance each other out.
Okay.
We do, springtime. So April is hit or miss, but April through July is usually pretty busy with bicycles.
Okay.
And then...
Is that because the time of year there are bike races that take place, or is it just because the weather's improving and it's time to get out?
We have more fair weather riders, It's harder to go riding when there's sleet and snow, but
it's weather and it's school. I mean, it's definitely an uptick when school gets out.
Mm-hmm.
Then in the wintertime, it switches to fitness. I'd say mid to late November, it starts to do fitness stuff, and then goes to March.
And when did you expand into the fitness part?
So Schwinn had like the Aerodyne, and they talked Dad and Mom into bringing those in, and then that just started growing. And then I would say mid, 93, 95, they started bringing in like weight equipment and treadmills and stuff like that. Wow. And Schwinn as a company had branched way into that stuff as well.
Okay.
Before they went under, unfortunately. But so that we followed, and we were one of in 2000, we were actually top 10 Schwinn dealer in the Midwest. And it wasn't just, it was because we did bicycles and fitness equipment with them.
Yeah.
So your dad still in his garage has all of these plaques from being a top 10 Schwinn dealer for many years.
Top 1,000 club.
Yeah.
He only did the top 10 once.
Okay. There you go.
That's still an honor.
That's still an honor, especially when you consider back then there was 20 to 30,000 bicycle shops.
Yeah.
Right.
Now there's only like 3,000 to 4,000 bicycle shops.
Yeah, the market's really kind of consolidated on that.
What do you think that's attributed to? Why the drop? And I don't know. Maybe things are going to change with inflation and gas prices the way they are at this time. But
I don't know.
What do you think caused a drop in bike shops?
It's hard to run your own business. I mean, it takes a certain person willing to deal with the ups and downs, and then. You take that. So you've got a lot of people that are retiring, and they can't find anyone to buy their business. So actually Trek's been buying a bunch of them up. They've got over 300 stores now.
Trek's one of our main suppliers out of just outside of Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then you've got the internet's part of it, just lots of things. It's tougher now than it was 20 years ago.
I was going to say, your dad, when, 218 still was a 2-lane road, when it went to 4-lane, that was a concern with your dad, the ability for people to travel and go other places. Of course, he always had catalogs, that people could order from. But yeah, in the age of online, just the accessibility of seeing what's out there, and then more of a just-in-time inventory system versus kind of your bulk purchasing. You didn't have the forecasting tools that we do today that, back in the 60s.
All that went out the window the last 2 years, too, by the way.
Yeah, that's true. We've pretty much reverted back to buy whatever you can get whenever you can get it.
Yeah, well, that's a good segue. So talk about how you survived the pandemic and how that affected business and how that affected cycling and fitness in general.
So first off, I have an amazing team. So we've just hired a couple new ones, but majority of my team have been there over 20 years. I got a couple over 30.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So
wow.
We've been very fortunate.
Wow.
Yes, and they stuck with us, and they hunkered down, and we all did what we had to do. We were deemed essential because we are transportation.
Interesting.
So, but we also had, because of the fitness equipment, we had a little earlier on, it was brought to our attention earlier what potentially could happen. So in March 17th, when she closed the state down, Within 3 hours, our strength equipment was gone.
No kidding.
Within 2 days, our cardio equipment was gone. And then we went to order more, and we couldn't get it.
Yeah.
So our fitness room sat pretty much empty because we sold our display models. We didn't, we'll just get more. No.
That was a lesson.
That was a lesson learned.
We marked out the stuff going forward, so we had something at least to show.
But there's still snow on the ground,
Yeah.
and there's no bicycle business. So we sat there twiddling our thumbs, and I remember just thinking, okay, what's going to happen? Are we going to be closed? I've got all these bills I got to pay. I got to make this.
One thing we've talked about is anytime, like, in a normal year, let's say the school district says, hey, the weather's bad, and guys, we're going to cancel. Well, we pretty much could assume that we're going to be pretty slow at the shop. All of a sudden, this arbitrary idea of shutting down business for 2 weeks is like,
Very scary.
that was scary. Yeah, I just got sick to my stomach.
And we don't
yeah.
worry about ourselves, too. I mean, my staff.
We have a
have
team,
been there as long
families.
as they have. They're,
Yeah.
they're
Right.
almost a family
They
at
are
this
a family,
point.
yeah.
That's right.
And so I'm not only worried about me, I'm worried about them.
Yeah.
Well, this is going, but in this meantime, I'm like, okay. So I'm looking at what Trek has, and I've been hearing rumblings where the bigger cities, bike sales have been picking up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my goal was to have an extra 30% of what we'd sell in the year in and have it all built and ready to go, just to kind of help. Well, I'm like, okay, the guys aren't doing anything right now. I think we're going to be busy. I took a stab, and I ordered another 20% bikes.
You took kind of a chance.
I took a chance, and I
Yeah.
ordered a safe model. I know I'm going to sell these if everything's normal. No, it was less than that, so I ordered that in. It ended up being an extra 60, 70 bikes at that point in time.
Yeah.
Well, by the time those got in and we had half of them put together, the rush had hit, and they were gone. And so I was fortunately
And is this all local
No.
folks coming?
at this time. Yes,
Oh,
this
yes.
was
Yeah.
local.
Okay.
So then I started ordering more. And one thing, when I was running just in time, which I was still definitely in that mode, I was ordering once a week, and I'd order 15 to 20 bikes a week. Well, now I'm ordering 50, 60 bikes a week, which is crazy.
And this is coming from Wisconsin?
Yes.
Yep, one of our main warehouses. But what we were noticing is most of our warehouse would have 99 plus, which meant there was plenty of inventory. All of a sudden, at a time in the year that you would see those numbers,
In April, they don't run out of bikes.
they don't run. And here we're
In
looking
June,
at
they start running out of bikes. April, they don't run out of bikes. Well, I start seeing stuff drop below 99 plus. At that moment, ordered a bunch. And so we
You went for it.
I
we
went for it.
And we had the warehouse. A lot of bike shops are pretty small.
Yeah,
we
they're-
had a
Yeah.
warehouse to work and kind of leverage.
Again, we're in an
Yeah.
industry that for the last 20 years has shown like 1% growth. So it's like hardly any growth at all. So every store is around just in time, just enough to bring what's in and selling out. We're coming from an era when my dad was running in the 70s was the bike boom in the United States. What we dealt with the last 2 years has been the world bike boom. It wasn't just in the States. This was worldwide.
Okay.
So by the end of April, Trek was completely sold out of bikes. They were early releasing the 22 or 21s, and so I ordered a bunch of those ahead of time. At one point, I had 1,200 bikes on order. And then
1,200 on order, not in-house yet.
Right.
on order.
Okay.
And if we didn't do that, there are some models we weren't going to see for a year and a half.
You get them in time. So you put your order in, it's time stamped.
Okay.
And so that's the line. So early on, I was just ordering
Yeah.
every week. And then when I got it up to a point, it's like, I'm pumping my brakes.
On average,
Yeah.
when you're placing these orders, how long does it take to get them then at the
All
store?
things normal, I could order on a Monday morning before 11 and have them Tuesday afternoon.
On a normal day.
Yes.
Now,
Uh-huh.
now we have a lot of inventory. It's all coming in all at once.
Yeah.
But the stuff that's coming in now, I ordered in 2020.
You're
We're
joking.
talking, in some cases, 2 years, but usually it's about a year and a half.
Yeah.
Now they've got a few things in open stock, but it's been crazy. But because I ordered when I did and had all that
Yeah.
stuff in, our
They're
record.
catching up on all the date stamping then from 2020?
and some people are when I did it, I was very analytical. I went through,
Yeah.
this is what we would sell in a certain year for this model, and I would order, I rounded up, but I went about 10% more. And so for each model, I added about 10% more, and ordered that, and I stopped when I got to that point.
When you're ordering, are you paying at the time of the order?
When they ship, I have to.
When they ship.
Then it gets invoiced and I get terms, but
Got it.
But I have to pay for everything that's coming in. Which right now,
So Tyler, you were paying for things that are just being delivered now? Am I understanding
they're
that correctly?
invoicing me now for it.
Okay.
So it's not. You pay for it when it leaves their facilities when they invoice you.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
The
So-
kids had asked Steve, looking back at COVID, would you ever want to go through this? And I said, on the business front, that was exciting. The demand, and as soon as one person came in, kind of haggle the price, I'll think about it and leave. We never pressure sell at all. We want people to get on it, test ride, and it's a big investment.
Yeah.
And we want to take their time. But we said, unfortunately, if you leave, there's a chance somebody's going to come in right behind you and take it
Within minutes.
And we also then all of a sudden, what we normally do special sales and all that, we stopped because we didn't know when we would get more inventory and we had to pay the bills.
We're also very omni-channel, which means we have our storefront, and then we have our online store, and then we market through we hit a lot of different areas.
Yeah.
So we literally sold a bike to every state in the continental United States.
We
the
had
last 2
people
years.
traveling all over. So as I told the kids, I said from the business standpoint, that was exciting. And I said in many ways, I think we saved lives. We gave people a healthy outlet when everything was shut down. And then kids, because so many traveling sport teams, all that stuff was canceled, people kind of rediscovered their own backyards again. So that was exciting. Socially, obviously the health, that was horrible. Never again. But
How do you ship something to another state?
With Trek, we cannot.
Okay.
They have to drive here to get it.
so we had people
No
driving
way.
quite a
So
distance.
our record for a special trip was Houston, Texas. They came up for 2 e-bikes.
They
drove
they were
specifically for
serious
2.
Yes.
Well, there was 4 stores that had them left in the country.
Yeah.
They were in Texas. I think one was Maine, another one was Florida, and they were the other 3 were on the East Coast.
Oh my god.
So we were the closest one. So they jumped in their RV and they
Tennessee.
drove up. The other one was Tennessee. It was south of Tennessee. The other states, they were coming home to see family, and they're I wonder if Bickel's has any bikes.
Yeah.
And they would wander in.
We had people-
we hit every state.
We had people calling from Miami. This one guy from Miami, please just send me the bike. This guy kept calling.
I got
Yeah.
dressed down quite vocally from somebody from New York because I wouldn't ship him a bike for his daughter's birthday.
Well,
Yeah.
that's New York.
But I would rather keep my bikes locally
That was-
for
yeah.
our customer base because
Yeah.
it's hard to find stuff.
Yeah.
Than ship it. And then Trek has a stance like I could ship it to another bike shop,
Yeah.
but I can't ship it to the end consumer. So it's a protection for the territory. And
Right.
And also, building and making sure things are built properly and the service, the warranty, those are the other aspects.
Right.
And one thing we talk about with bicycles and kind of a differentiating factor with what we do is, as Tyler said, Leroy and my father-in-law, he wanted to be a bike shop to everybody, those who had and those who didn't have. And we see it all, those who love a sport and those it's their only means of transportation. It was, when it comes to basically looking at like a box store, more of a toy versus a vehicle, something kind of a form of transportation. So we take it seriously that things are put together properly and serviced. So
Well, and that's one of the things I think that distinguishes you is you also have the service and the repair department because I know where I live, it's very difficult to find bike repair shops. They seem to be really going away. And so to have something local to be able to have available is such a benefit to this community.
yeah, we have people drive an hour and a half to have us work on their bikes.
that's
So
one thing
we do a
all-
lot of just in time, not just a lot of call ahead. So they schedule a time, and we'll go to a local restaurant or something, go shopping, and then they come back.
We'll
and-
service their
yeah.
bike. Yeah, a lot of bike shops will take a couple of weeks, to turn around, and that's one thing we pride ourselves on. We have a very veteran, experienced team of mechanics, and
Yeah.
they're amazing getting that turned around while people wait or do some other shopping and come back.
I don't know if, again, this is a time of year thing or a pandemic thing, but between cycling and fitness, is anyone more seasonal than another?
So they offset each other. Our slowest time is October and November. September creeps in there sometimes, but The fitness we do both residential and full commercial. So between the two, we're pretty busy. I mean, we actually take care of Genesis Health Systems. They have a bunch of workout rooms like our hospital does. We do all the preventative maintenance and service for them. So we're up in the Quad Cities fairly often. We get as far south as Truman State.
Wow.
And take care of their stuff.
Yeah.
So we cover a pretty broad territory.
A lot of our team is full-time. We only have a couple of seasonal part-timers, but we got
3 part-timers.
but we got a little bit more. We got a little leaner with just operation a little smarter with our just-in-time inventory management. Didn't want to be a necessarily banker and leverage all of that warehouse space and leverage our suppliers on that front.
Are you in any hotels as well with fitness
We
equipment?
yeah.
Yep,
Take
absolutely.
care of quite a few in the area.
Right. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about the charitable side of your business, because when I came and visited with you several months ago, that's one of the things that I was really blown away by, was your commitment to the community and your generosity to the community. Can you talk about that for a moment?
Yeah, we do a lot of things. One of our biggest ones is the Toys for Tot drive. We partner with them. And I'll try and find the best deal for some kind of a Brand X type bike, and I will bring in a whole bunch of them, and then we pretty much sell them for what our cost is. So we work it out to where it's the cost of the bike plus what my guy's time would be, build it up, and that's what we price it at.
Yeah. And then we have so many, just local events. Garrett's Path, while that was going. All kinds of different, efforts to, offer service and, and bicycle, kickbacks and what have you. West Burlington has their annual 4th of July neighborhood party, and every year we do free basic, bicycle safety checks on those bicycles with the kid races in the morning at 9 a.m. Those are a lot of fun. Those kind of activities. The kid races are always my favorite. Of course, ours have gotten to participate in them as well, but. One interesting thing, talking about, charitable, efforts and all, in our business, we really get to deal with people individually, and everyone has a story. We have some really unique situations where people have had health issues, and a bicycle has really opened up that window of new opportunities and freedoms, things that they thought were beyond them have come to light. And
I have a customer. He's a friend. He kind of moved away now, but first met him. He came in and he bought a hybrid bike. He was 300 pounds, and he rode the wheels off that bike, but he lost 150 pounds.
Yeah.
And so then he moved up to more of a road style bike, and he started riding even more.
Yeah.
And now you see him; he's a twig. He's really and he rides a lot.
Good for him.
Yeah, and then
Good
I
for
think
him.
we have a family that they have a son who's autistic.
You
and
start looking at the e-bikes. Yes, there's a
pedal assist electric bikes. Yeah.
family. Their son loves to run, and they have to be with him. And he's running 25 miles, so to ride a bike,
Keep up with him.
and I ride 25 miles. I don't think I am, but it's a challenging ride, physically a ride for whoever. Well, e-bike takes a big chunk of the work out of it.
Yeah. They're still pedaling, but it's like somebody putting their hand on the back and giving a little added push. And same with your father.
Yeah,
really.
I use him as an example a lot. So a lot of people know this. My father, he was 73, 74. It's been 6-7 years ago. He had a
Massive heart attack.
very, very massive. Great River did what they could, and they got down to where they could see what was in there, and they're like, we don't want to touch this.
Yeah.
So they sent him up to Rock Island, and they looked at it, and it's like, we can do it, but we would feel much safer if you were over here. And so they sent us to Loyola in Chicago.
Yep.
Anyway, it was a 12-hour surgery, quadruple bypass, put in a pacemaker, and then spliced in a pig valve.
They pretty much rebuilt him.
Yeah, his heart was out of his chest for quite some time.
Oh, wow.
But, with all the riding he did, the idea of riding around, a neighborhood block on a cruiser bike wasn't going to do it.
Nope.
And
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
the physical aspect, and then there's kind of the emotional, spiritual, aspect.
Yeah.
I have a purpose to living in life. And so,
And he's got it's a Bosch system e-bike we got through Trek, and it amplifies the pressure he pushes in the pedal. So there's a lot of them out there that will just go. He wanted exercise. He wanted to feel like he was doing something. So this, if he pushes harder, it pushes harder. And now he's doing a 35, 40-mile ride with these things. And he's 81 years old.
Saving lives.
There you go.
That's
Absolutely.
fantastic. We have just about a minute left. You got your kids involved now too, and I mean anybody who listens to the radio here in the area gets to hear your kids. Was that a hard or an easy sell to get them doing that?
I always bribe them with ice cream afterwards. So yes,
They really didn't have a choice.
They didn't really. Oh no,
They do a great job.
Oh
They
well,
do.
thank you. No, it's fun to have them do that with us, and we have ever since they were just always going out on bicycle rides. There's so many options to take the kids with you when it comes to cycling, and that they benefit as well as mom and dad. During COVID, there like so many schools, there was different models, and we were on a hybrid for quite a period of time. And anyway, said to the kids. Well, why don't you come in and we'll have some STEM education. We'll have you help pre-assemble some of these bikes. And our son piped up and he says, Mom, it's child labor. So welcome to the family business.
Yes. Well, hopefully Child Protective Services is not listening to this at the moment. So.
No, they're good. Edward, I think when he was 2 years old, we had got a new business cards, and he got a handful of them and was just walking up to people and handing them out. Like, it was pretty
cool.
fun. He's good kid.
Well, really appreciate you coming in, telling the Bickel story. You certainly are a success story here in the greater Burlington area. Just wish you continued success. Keep up the great work.
Thank you so much. Thanks to all of our customers. Yeah.
And again, real quick, the best way to get a hold of you, tell us again where you're located and maybe if you have a website.
We're out at 305 East Agency Road, out there kind of by Kohl's. And we have a website, it's www.bickelsinc.com.
Wonderful. Tyler and Melinda Bickel, thank you again. We appreciate that. Thank you again so much for listening to All Things Greater Burlington. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Tell your friends to listen in, and we will see you next time.
You have been listening to All Things Greater Burlington with Stephen Brody. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to catch all new episodes. To learn more about all things Greater Burlington, visit greaterburlington.com/ATGB.